What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here, Unsleeved Media, and there's a lot of news to cover this week. We've got bad news coming out of Hasbro. We've got some hilarious interactions with your favorite e-beggar in the Magic community, and we've got yet another alleged creep coming out of Star City Games. Now, I want to be very clear. Todd Stevens has not been found legally liable of anything. He has not been convicted or even charged of a single crime. So, unlike a lot of my counterparts who cover things in this space and will assume guilt because #BelieveWoman, what we know now is he's been both accused and fired. Now, the fact that Star City Games fired beloved commentator Todd Stevens probably means there's a decent amount of evidence, because if there wasn't, they would be opening themselves up to potential lawsuits. On top of that, we know that there is a significant creep culture at Star City Games where people like Evan Irwin allegedly cheated on his wife with an intern or an employee at Star City Games before fleeing the state to go work for Cool Stuff Inc. So we know that Star City Games hires some of the best of the best. And let's take a little bit of a look into what's going on with this. Now, Todd Stevens fired from Star City Games for allegedly harassing Woman. Todd Stevens, content producer for Star City Games, has been fired. SCG has suspended for 3 years from Star City Games Open Series for allegedly harassing Woman, sources tell a stupid website. Multiple sources have confirmed that Stevens was fired and suspended after a group of Woman reported his behavior. Star City Games 2 weeks ago. They alleged that he had acted inappropriately towards them in at least 4 instances while he was drinking at parties at Magic events. Let me offer some very important advice. Okay, advice that when I am out hanging out with viewers, people I work with, you must remember things when you're drinking. You have to, one, I follow the rule of never being alone with a girl in a situation where that woman is not my wife, okay? Or other people who can vouch for me in particular situations. This is a world nowadays where mere allegations are enough to completely ruin your career. Just ask guys like Chris Hardwick, who barely got his job back at Talking Dead after being falsely accused by a bitter ex-girlfriend. These days, it seems like it's at least 50-50 where these accusations actually wind up being true or not. Where it stands right now, I'm not convinced Todd Stevens is a monster. What I am convinced of, though, is Star City Games has a real problem with hiring people who can't hold their liquor. I mean, regardless of how much I consume, I'm not grabbing on people and doing other things that I shouldn't be, especially my female employees. This is probably a function of hiring men children who don't really know how to act when they drink alcohol. There are stories from Woman about Todd grabbing their leg or doing something, mildly inappropriate, I would say. Something that maybe if they're a friend and you give them a hug or something, they're not going to be offended. But if it's an employee or a coworker and you put your hands on them, they're going to remember that. And these things are going to pop up on Reddit or later in life when I'm told he had possibly, allegedly, accepted a job somewhere else. So I think it's awfully convenient that these accusations, remember, that's what these are right now. Accusations came out when they did. The most disturbing part of all of this, though, okay, the part of all of this that unfortunately I can say, after being knee-deep in these grimy people for as long as I have been, I'm not one bit surprised. But you yourself, being a normal viewer, someone who isn't dealing with this all the time, might be surprised to know that several people, I would say tens of people I've seen commenting, whether it be on Reddit or publicly on Twitter, saying stuff like, oh, I knew about this for years. Look at all these woman respecters. Should have been sooner if it is what I think it is. It's been a long time coming from what I hear. I mean, this stuff is, there's probably 100 or more people between here or Reddit or publicly virtue signaling as woman supporters, hashtag believe all women, pound me too, hashtag believe. All these gentlemen, these woman respecters, supposedly knew about this for years, many of them saying years, many months. Yet, curious, none of them said a single thing about it, ever. Didn't confront Todd. Let me tell you, here's how men handle things like this, right? Grown men, all right? If your friend is drunk and getting a little handsy, here's what you do. You pull him aside and be like, yo, chill, dude, you know? And that's it. That's all it takes, all right? So you don't get any bonus credit for piling on Todd Stevens after he's been fired because you showed no courage to confront him in the first place. And if what this is the equivalent of him being drunk and kind of handsy at times, you might not like this, but I don't care. People get drunk. Things happen. I didn't feel bad for the last girl at Star City Games who wrote a 20-page manifesto about how she hooked up with some married guy and she was somehow a victim because he was married and she entered willingly into the relationship with him. Guessing it might have been Todd Stevens or dating somebody. Don't care. You're an adult. You made that decision. I don't feel bad for you, lady. And, you know, if it turns out to be bad, right? If it's legit, I support his firing and I support his blacklisting from the game Magic the Gathering. Okay? Make no mistake about it, he will be lifetime banned. That's a fact. However, if it's just mere allegations or a bit of grab ass while out drinking with your coworkers, yes, you should have known better. You don't party with your coworkers, especially if they're far left crazy ideologues who think, you know, giving someone a hug is the same thing as a struggle snuggle. But it's curious how Star City Games continues to have these disgusting creep stories come out of there. Now, if this story from this woman a few weeks ago was about Todd Stevens, then that's only two that we know of. But if it isn't, first we have Evan Irwin, confirmed cretin. We have Todd Stevens, confirmed cretin, allegedly. And now this other third person, all right? That meme about the male feminist ally being the best camouflage for creeps is based on fact. That's why it's so real. But it's interesting to see everybody pouncing on this guy. I've seen no concrete evidence of it whatsoever. And another thing that I think is pretty disgusting. I find it pretty interesting how quickly Reddit was to delete threads for all of those hashtag believe woman feminists on Magic Reddit. They were awfully quick to delete this stuff. And I didn't see anything saying, well, this is just accusations. No, they were just scrubbing it. I wonder why that is. I wonder, just like they scrubbed the threads on dude cheating on Melissa Del Toro. What was his name? Frank Lepore. Getting caught red-handed. They deleted that to protect Frank Lepore, who's also a confirmed creep. Professional Magic players seem to have fallen in one of three categories: a regular guy, cheaters, and creeps. This is just a continuation of what appears to be a peer group of men that are malformed in their minds, that are incapable of working a job, that are incapable of paying for insurance, that are incapable of obtaining their own housing, are incapable of knowing the difference between a coworker and a woman you're dating, apparently. It's like these guys, like Todd Stevens, must have never bagged his own woman in his whole life. Because hitting on your coworkers is low. All right? Where I'm from, you don't dip your pen in company ink. All right? Yes, it can happen. Yes, it's not always bad. But in general, you stay away from your coworkers, because if you get mixed up in something and it doesn't end well, it ends badly for the man every time. All right? Especially in the world now where mere accusations clearly were enough to lead to his firing and banning. But, he didn't post any memes, and he's friends with the right people. So we'll see how this all shakes out. If this is the equivalent of what I'm expecting it to, expect more videos on the topic in defense of Todd Stevens. Right now, we don't know anything, except it's just another virtuous magic professional. I'll be over here sipping my tea.